morning or afternoon, but on my way to work soon. This idea came to me in the shower, and I wanted to get this video out prior to work, so it seems a little rushed. It is, because I gotta leave soon, but it's important. This is an important narcissistic tactic to be aware of, and it's called don't let the narcissist yes you. In other words, narcissists know, as I've said before, when their supply is, beginning to slip away, when they know that you're at your wit's end, when you're about to leave, when you can't take it anymore, when the situation's deteriorated that much. However, they are good at telling you what you want to hear, making you believe that they understand and that they're willing to change. And this is slightly different from their normal tactic of, things will get a little bit better for a brief period of time. It's going to be in a narcissistic relationship. Most commonly, it can be with a narcissistic parent with their adult children that are thinking of going no contact. I dealt with this myself. I first moved away when I was moved to a different state when I was 19. Things fell through with the fire department because of the recession at the time, and then I ended up, leaving the country and moving to Canada. Oh yeah, I put a border between. Wasn't sure what narcissism or any of this was back then, but think about that. I wanted to get away so bad that at 20 years old, I moved to another country where I knew nobody. Granted, it was Canada, but still. Well, my first choice was the UK, but Oxford put me on a waiting list, bastards. And then later, I did get an acceptance after I already accepted a scholarship at the University of Toronto and got into their internship program at the Royal Ontario Museum, which is pretty cool. Granted, it's not the British Museum. How I long to see thee. But they'll do that. Things will get better for a couple weeks, and then they'll get worse than what they were previously. But yesing you is them essentially making you believe they have empathy, making you think that they care about your feelings and what you're going through, and they don't. But many narcissists, especially covert narcissists, are good at mimicking. So they'll mimic their victims' behaviors, particularly if that victim's an empath, because as I've said, and more importantly, as my friend, the very talented author and ex-Scientologist John Atack has said, narcissists, especially coverts that are all about their image and trying to act like a big shot, they're very good at weaponizing empaths, as they do it in cults as recruitment, but they do it in their careers sort of as trophies and a means to get to where they want to be, because maybe deep down, well, a lot of them coverts deep down know what they are and know that people see through them. So they'll seek out an empath, somebody that like everybody likes, and they'll partner with that person, keep them for not only their narcissistic supply, and because empaths have a hard time saying no, particularly ENFJs. Watch my ENFJ playlist, been talking about that for a couple years. But it makes them tolerable. It makes other people be like, well, if she's with him, he can't be all bad. No, he's just a good bullshitter and was able to manipulate her. It's a really good covert narc tool. Same with female borderlines do this too. They'll get like a very nice, empathetic guy, and he makes her tolerable because people will be like, oh, poor, you poor SOB, look what you deal with. But what I mean by yesing is they will, pretend to feel your pain like an empath would, but they don't. They only care about themselves. They don't care what you're going through. They'll mimic it enough to know exactly what behaviors are really upsetting you, and then pretend to half-ass change. So they'll maybe do it less often, whatever the traits may be. The list goes on and on, but maybe they'll do it less often, or it won't be as bad, and that'll be their attempt of, see, I'm trying, I'm doing this for you. This is so hard for me. I really care about you, blah, blah, blah. And it'd be a half-ass attempt. It'd be like someone saying, who smokes a pack a day, saying they're going to quit smoking, and they go down to 15 cigarettes a day kind of thing. They're not, they're not really being honest. They're putting in what they claim to be this insurmountable effort for this insurmountable change. But in reality, they're putting in minimal effort to make just enough change that it's noticeable, and it's always temporary. It's never permanent. This yesing tricks the victim into believing that the narcissist, one, is capable of change, and they're not. They're not, because they see themselves as perfect. What do you mean I'm a narcissist? Are you saying I'm not perfect? That's one of my thumbnails. They are telling you what you want to hear, but what's really going on in their head is like, I don't need to change. They need to get with the program. Don't they know that what I'm doing is for their own good? And that they're lucky to be a part of my grand plan? I could easily find someone else who'd be more than happy to be along for the ride because I'm such a big shot and going places and blah, 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 blah. Oh, the amount of times I've heard that in the modeling and acting industry. Yeah. Usually by has-beens who think they're on the rise again. People who at one time had some meteoric success maybe 15, 20 years ago. I'll be the first to admit I'm a hack. But, I have a little fun and I make a little money. I call out a few narcissists, piss the right people off. So, it's enjoyable. It's a nice little side job. And that's all it'll ever be. And I knew that. And I accept that reality. But when a narc yeses you, it can be somewhat confusing. And the narcissists are very good at timing. They know how to hit. They know when to hit. So they'll do this yesing a lot of times when they see a threat. And like a narcissistic boss would do this, say, when you've been promised a promotion or a raise and it doesn't come, and they know you're looking. They know you're on your way out, because for a lot of people, change is hard. People become creatures of habit, and it can be scary starting a new environment because you don't know what your coworker is going to be. You can figure, obviously, your salary and your hours and that, but the intangibles, you don't know. So the narcissist will try to be like, well, I can change this and this and do that, and I really value you, blah, 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 blah. And it's never what you really want, but you think, oh, well, they're making an effort. This is something. And that falsity of promise change, like a half measure, then leads you to stick around because that combined with your fear of change, fear of the unknown, okay, that'd be a narcissistic boss situation. In relationships, it would be, if the victim gets feelings for somebody other than the narc and the narc finds out about it, a lot of times, then they'll start yesing the victim about what needs change. And what's super sneaky, and narcs typically are, they'll learn about who the other person is and try to mimic some of those characteristics that drew the victim away, because they don't want that narcissistic supply getting away. So they'll try to mimic what drew the victim to the person that they're thinking of leaving the narc for. But again, change hard, the unknown and all that, people become comfortable. Sadly, abuse becomes comfortable. I talked about that in another video, that particularly the longer a narcissistic relationship goes on, either if it's with a parent, which, until you're the right age can be hard to get away from. I mean, it's possible, but very difficult. This can be a narcissistic boss or a narcissistic partner. The longer it goes on, the more comfortable you become with that abuse. The more it becomes normalized, the more, it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy that it is the best you can hope for, that it's what you deserve, and that you are lucky to have the narc. Lies! But when they're yesing you, you have to pay attention that this is a pattern of behavior. This is a tactic they've used before. If you have a narcissistic boss, or you're with a narcissistic partner, or perhaps you're an adult thinking of going no contact with a narcissistic parent, think about, my mother did this all the time. They tell you what you want to hear. It's just lip service, okay? Hillary Clinton's a master of it too. Keep in mind, have your mind go back to the last time they did that, or the time before that, and the time before that. Think about what they said and think about what actually happened. Because a lot of times Narcs will sit there, and my mother did it, like, well, I told you what you wanted to hear. Yeah, but none of it came to fruition. You changed nothing. Narcs will say anything and change nothing. So you got to know not to believe them when they say things are going to be different this time, because they never are. And at best, if they are a little different in a positive direction, it's a very, very brief turn. And they'll expect you to be extremely grateful eternally for the crumbs that they cast you. That's what a narcissist wants. They want you, to be completely subservient and completely grateful for whatever crumbs of validation, for whatever crumbs of change they cast you. Understand, in whatever situation, boss, relationship, parent, the narcissist is never going to change. What they're telling you is a lie. They don't mean it. They don't feel that they have to change. They're telling you what you want to hear. They're doing as little as possible to hold on to you as that source of narcissistic supply. So if you're at the point where you want to make a change in any situation with a narcissist and you have a way out, take that way out. Because I guarantee you this too. As soon as that door is closed, the narcissist is going to be worse than ever, because they know, there's no threat of them losing that supply at that moment. The narcissist is best behaved towards their victim when they know that victim has a way out. So keep that in mind. The narcissist isn't being honest. They're just yesing you. They're just telling you what you want to hear. So always, as I always say, embrace your free will. Do not fear change. The unknown can be transcendent. Hail Lilith.